Hi, my name is Daisy, and today I'm going to focus on 4 instructional strategies that educators can use in their classroom. I'm going to focus on the forward chaining, the backward chaining, the pivotal response training, and the teach method. So we're going to focus on forward chaining. And what forward chaining refers to is teaching a behavioral chain beginning with the first step. So an example would be hanging shirt. And the steps for hanging a shirt would basically be picking up shirt, grabbing hanger, putting hanger into the sleeves, and hanging on the rack. So with forward chaining, the student will become independent and successful with the first step. So in forward chaining, the student will automatically be successful at picking up the shirt. So then the teacher would prompt all the way through with the student grabbing the hanger, full physical, putting the hanger inside the shirt, and full prompting all the way to hang the shirt. By moving forward, the next step would be to focus on would be grabbing hanger. So the teacher can maybe do a partial physical and then prompt all the way through with the student with the hanging of the shirt and then hanging on the rack. And then so you move forward, you become successful moving down the task. Now we will focus on backward chaining, and backward chaining refers to the behavioral change starting from the last step. So like we were doing earlier, we were working on hanging shirt, and instead of being successful on the first step of hanging shirt, the teacher will actually prompt from the beginning and let the student be successful at the last step. So the teacher will use a prompt, and she will use a full physical, having the student pick up the shirt, grab the hanger, put the hanger on inside the sleeves, and the last step is what's going to be successful. So the student will be independent. She'll give the student the shirt, and they will put it on the rack independently. So instead like forward chaining where you start from the beginning, the student will be successful going up the task. So the next successful step would be, the teacher will prompt through picking up the shirt, grabbing the hanger, and then she will use a less intrusive prompt to have the student, maybe she'll just do a partial physical to work on the student actually putting the hanger on there. So the next independent step would be putting the hanger inside the sleeves and then getting independence on that. And so the chain moves from the bottom up. So the next instructional strategy I'll be focusing on is the pivotal response training. And the pivotal response training mainly focuses on a student's motivation while working on an activity. So in this case, you would have the student pick a highly preferred activity, and which can be building blocks. And this is where you have opportunities to engage with the student and build all kinds of skills, social skills, functional skills. It doesn't, at that time, you're just kind of having like a natural setting, but the student has picked the activity. So, I can have an activity where I'm working with a student and they can reach over and grab my blocks. This is an opportunity to teach a student, hey, you can say, I want blocks. And, you can hand over the blocks. So you taught right there a student how to demand for a specific item, So, you're still engaging in an activity, and a student can be holding a blue block. You could say, hey, what are you holding? He could say, I'm holding a block. And they would repeat it, or maybe you need to prompt them. It just depends. But you're trying to find opportunities where you can teach the student how to communicate or request an item. Another example would be maybe a student can be turn taking with the student, and they want what the other student has, and you can help them, prompt them by saying, my turn. This will help students with social skills, communication skills, and mainly the pivotal response training focuses on a student engaging in an activity that they picked, but you're just trying to find the opportunities to teach them a variety of skills. So it's very successful in the sense where the student will stay engaged, but you have to make sure that the activity is highly preferred. But you'll have many opportunities to help the student gain skills without them really thinking that they're working. So the last instructional strategy that I will focus on is the TEACCH method. And the TEACCH method stands for Treatment and Education of Autistic Communication Related to Handicapped Children. And the method is actually comprised of three components, which is physical organization, scheduling, and teaching methods. So for physical organization, the teacher wants to make sure that the classroom is organized, that areas are designated for certain learning. Maybe you have an art area, you have a break area, you have a math area. You just want to make sure that the student is aware of the room and the environment, and when they go to certain areas, that they know what's expected of them, where they need to go, what they need to do. And you want to make sure that the areas are least distractible, and you don't want to have areas that are meant for reinforcement near doors or anything, because you don't want the student to leave the class. You want them to stay in the class. So the next is schedules, and you want to focus on having a classroom that students know what to expect to do and are able to have a visual of what's expected of them. So I made an example of what can be posted in a classroom. It could just be visuals of examples, and then kind of like a check-off list to see where they're at. So let's say you do a morning circle. The student already knows that that's what they're going to start with in the morning. And after it's completed, you can check it off, and this just gives students a little bit more of an example of what to expect throughout the day. The next is teaching methods, and you want to make sure that you're providing materials for the students of what you're expected for them to learn, and you want to be able to grab their attention when you're presenting a lesson to them. So make sure that they're focused and that they're organized when you're doing this lesson. And during the lessons, if the student does need any prompting of any kind, you are able to provide that for them, whether it's correcting them or helping them find the correct answer. And you want to make sure that the reinforcement is picked by them, that it's preferred, and they selected it. And then if they are reinforced, you need to get the reinforcement correct right away. So let's say I provide a lesson for my student, and they're designated to go into maybe like a reading area. They already know where to go. They have a schedule that is provided for them, and usually they can have something like this if you want to run a lesson. It's a first then card. So maybe they have a reading assignment where they first have to read and then they can play. Maybe the activity's outside, or they can play inside the classroom. So most likely a student would have already had maybe like a visual of what they're expected to do in a designated area. The teacher can provide materials of what is expected of them. And then the teacher will give them maybe an assignment, read pages 5 through 9, and then add 3 words in your journal. So, the teacher would have the book. They would read the pages, and if they need any prompting or any guidance, the teacher would be able to provide that. And then after, they would write their 3 words with assistance, if needed, in their journal. They're able to get the reinforcement. So you want to make sure that there's a visual, letting them know what they're expected to do, materials provided, and have any assistance. And after they complete the task, they are reinforced. So the teaching method is just try to provide as many visuals for the student to become as independent and build some skills with a least amount of prompts. But the whole goal is to have them know what to expect, have organization, and build skills. So those are my 4 instructional strategies. I hope that you find them helpful and that you're able to apply them to your classroom. Thanks.